Hey everyone, it's Miss K, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create the tertiary colors using only red, yellow, and blue color pencils. So if you're watching this video, you should have already watched how to layer the primary colors and how to layer them to make your secondary colors. And this video is going to show you how to do the tertiary colors. Super important you've watched those other two before you watch this one because you're gaining skills that you're going to use for this one. Okay, so as long as you've been following along, your color wheel should look something like this. So all of your colors, you should have your primary, so red, yellow, and blue. Then you should have your secondary, orange, green, and violet. There should be no streaks in them. They should all look smooth and even. And of course, you are only using your red, yellow, and blue color pencils, okay? So now we're going to work on doing our tertiary colors, which are going to be all of our white spaces. And we're going to start with our yellow areas because yellow is going to be easier, especially when we are mixing two warm colors like red and yellow together. So we're going to start here, and I like to work my way around in a circular formation. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So because we are mixing red and yellow, we're going to make our color red-orange over here. Which means we're going to have more red than yellow in it. However, because we are mixing two colors together, we need to put the lightest one down first. So in this case, red and yellow, that would mean we have to put yellow down first. So we're just going to follow that same process that we've been doing. And first start by tracing the contour line of our sphere. You have to make sure you really get that outer edge. And then go ahead and start your first layer of color, making sure to stay inside the lines as always. And you are lightly pressing, you're not pressing hard. Similar process going the opposite direction. Please remember it's so easy to be lazy with yellow, and we don't want to be lazy with yellow. Also, as a friendly reminder, if it takes me this long, it should take you at least this long, if not longer, to complete these spheres correctly. So please do not try to rush ahead. I promise there's a method to my madness. So I've gone ahead and done 3 layers of my yellow. I'm going to do one more layer just because, again, it's so easy to be lazy with yellow. You can clearly tell that this yellow is more intense than this one. I'm just wanting a nice even layer of yellow across my entire thing. So a lot of you have guessed this already, but if we're going to make a red-orange color, obviously we want more red than we want yellow in here. Which means we're going to have to slowly build up those layers. This guy is going to be lighter and include more yellow because it's closer to yellow than this one. So the major thing we want to make sure that we have is a nice gradual transition between colors. This will be something I will mention a couple times in this video, is that you want all of your colors when you are done to be able to have your eye go around the entire circle, and every color looks distinctly different. If not, that's when you'll start to add more red or yellow or blue to each color to get the effect that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and add my red to here. I'm going to start the same way. I'm going to trace that contour line. Okay, then I'm going to hatch. So I've hatched in one direction. Now I'm going to cross hatch. I notice again, a lot of my students, you guys are pressing way too hard. You should be holding the pencil at least an inch out. It's all about light layers, especially gentlemen. Please do not press too hard. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a 3rd layer of my red. And as you can see, it's nice and smooth. So because I'm doing light layers, I'm not pressing hard at all. Okay, so right now these two colors are looking very similar. That's okay. I just need to keep adding red until my color is different enough. And what's nice about yellow is I can use the yellow to kind of blend the pigment together at the very end. So I'm just going to keep adding layers of yellow or of red, and I'm still not pressing hard. And the more I do this, the more distinct and in the middle my red orange is going to start to become. If you notice you have streaks, use a circular motion. Or if you have splotches too. So you're trying to get rid of any evidence of your pencil marks. I'm still not pressing hard. Your tertiary colors are just going to take and require more effort and focus, which is why we do our primary and then our secondary first, just so we can gain confidence with layering carefully before we work on our tertiary colors. So my red-orange still needs another layer of red. These two still look very similar. So I'm going to go ahead, and now that I have a lot of pigment down, I'm going to slowly apply just a little bit more pressure. But I'm still not, I'm not pressing all the way down. I'm pressing from the side, and I'm only applying, again, just a little bit more pressure. I'm not pressing crazy hard. My hand doesn't hurt. I'm not racing across the whole circle, coloring outside the circle. I'm just doing small lines. Very carefully coloring those edges in. So as you can see with mine, there's places where it's not looking as smooth. You can see some of those yellow spots peeking in from underneath the red. So all I'm going to do is just take my pencil in a circular motion and blend those areas out. Again, not applying a ton of pressure. Trying to get those areas to be as smooth as possible. So you can see now that there is a distinct difference between my red, orange, and my orange. Again, like this kind of section of my sphere, you can see it is a little bit streaky, and you can see some of my yellow through it. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue layering that area. Tertiary colors are where my students have the most trouble, because again, you have to use light layers or it doesn't work well. Okay, so for now, I'm going to keep it at that. I might, go back at the end and kind of work on blending it out some more, but for our purposes today, that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next one, which is going to be yellow-orange. So again, you want to put it between your yellow and your orange. and you're mixing yellow and red together, which means that you need to start with yellow because yellow is your lighter color. So same process, just go ahead and outline your sphere or your circle. Still not going to press hard. Remember, it's so easy to be lazy with yellow, so make sure you do plenty of layers. Not going to press hard, but I am going to do lots of layers. I want to make sure that my entire paper is covered in yellow. If you guys had issues with your green, it's because you weren't blending your yellow correctly and you weren't doing enough layers. So if your green looks really blue, make sure again that you're not being lazy with your yellow. So not only do you want to do multiple layers because you don't want to be lazy with yellow, but you want to do multiple layers because this color is going to have a lot more yellow than it's going to have orange. So you want to make sure you have a nice layer of that down before you get started. So I've done 2 layers back to back. I'm probably going to do 6 layers just to really make sure that I've covered all of the white of the paper with a light layer of orange. So again, I keep rotating my paper. Okay, this is layer number 5. Again, circular motion to kind of get that white of the paper. Okay, again, it's a little easier to tell on my end, but this is more intense than this one. This one is still light layers. I've done 5 layers, but it is significantly lighter because I'm not pressing hard. So please do not press hard. If you press too hard, it creates this waxy layer. It's hard to get rid of. Okay, so I've done about 6 layers. I'm going to very carefully add my red into my yellow. It's important with any color when you add it to yellow that you apply less than you think you need and you go slow and steady. Otherwise, the other color always overtakes the yellow. Now, it's not as important for adding red as it's going to be for adding blue, but it is going to be a little bit challenging. So just make sure that you're careful. Again, slow and steady wins the race. So I always like to start by outlining my circle. And honestly, we're probably just going to do 1 layer of red, but we'll kind of see what it looks like after 1. Remember, your goal is to make it so it's not streaky. So you might have to do 2 layers. Okay, so I outlined my circle. I'm going to do a really light layer of my red. Again, I'm holding my pencil far out. I'm not holding it up here. I'm not pressing down like this. I'm holding it far away. It helps you apply less pressure. I really appreciate, guys, when I say that and I see you guys change it in your hand. Thank you for listening and paying attention. There's specifically a few of you that come to mind right now that I've noticed do that, and you're rock stars, and it looks awesome what you're doing. Okay, so if you look at these, you can tell that there is a difference in color leading to these guys. This one does need a little bit more red in it, which is good. So I'm just going to rotate my paper and color in the opposite direction to get rid of some lines that I see. This is going to be an opportunity where you might not need to add more red. You just need to look and see what color you think to add more of. And of course, if you don't know, ask a neighbor, ask yourself, and then ask me. I guess you should ask yourself first, then ask a neighbor, and then ask me. But I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Go ahead and see if this light helps. Oops. Okay, So I just added a light. Hopefully that helps a little bit with our color. I'm gonna go ahead and add just one more light layer of my color. And then I think for my intents and purposes, I'm good for now. Again, I might add some more red to it later. You just want a nice smooth transition between your colors. But for now, I'm good. So I'm actually going to jump one over. I'm not going to do this one yet, just because this one's going to be a little bit trickier. I'm going to move to this one first because we have more blue than yellow. So this color, blue, is blue-green. And it's closer to blue, which means it's going to have more blue in it, but we still need to apply yellow first because yellow is our lightest color. So exact same process that we've been doing. Trace that contour line, that outer line of your color. And then color in a nice value. Please remember not to be lazy with yellow. It's so easy to be lazy with yellow. So that's part of just slowing down, staying intentional and focused. I've done 3 layers. I'm going to go ahead and do 4. And I'm going to do one more just because I still see some of the white of my paper. And again, I am still holding it pretty far back. I'm not coloring up and down, just adding those light layers of color. Okay, I think it's safe to start adding my blue now. Oops. Since I have a pretty nice layer of my yellow. Same exact process that I do with all my other colors. So we start by tracing that contour line. And then a nice thin layer of my blue, trying to press as lightly as possible since I know my blue is going to dramatically eat up my yellow. I do notice, guys, that my students struggle the most with these 3. So again, just the more carefully you layer your colors, the better off you'll be. If you totally flub it up and you need to start over, just add another circle over here and try again. That's okay. Again, none of us are perfect, and I don't expect perfection from any of you. Okay, I'm going to rotate my paper, make sure I cross-hatch both directions. And I'm just going to keep adding very, very light layers of my blue so that my colors can mix and blend together. If you can tell from the projector, mine is looking streaky. Mine also is not looking nearly as dark as this screen. So I think at this point, because I have a lot of layers down, it is safe for me to press a little bit harder. But again, please be careful. You need to look at and assess your own project to see if now's the best time for you to do that. So I'm just adding slightly more pressure, not a ton. And I'm just going to keep following that process. So again, only you can kind of assess yours because yours is going to look different from mine. So you need to see what color do you need to add more? Does this color in the center look like it is a happy median between these two, or does it not? Right now, mine, again, it still looks lighter. I need to slowly add more blue, but I'd rather have that problem of I need to add more blue than the opposite problem of I've added too much blue, because that's much harder to fix. If you think you might have added too much blue, please call me over and we can work on a solution together. Okay, so the more blue I add, the more this starts to look like a happy median between my two. So again, keep looking at, keep assessing your color wheel. Again, your colors should be really, really smooth. They should not be outside of your circle. I would say for now that that's really good. I might add some more layers of blue later on, but I'm not going to over stress out about it right now. Again, you just want your colors to really flow and keep going. So again, I might add some extra layers of blue later, but for now I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and work on adding some layers of yellow to this guy now. This is going to be my yellow green, which means I need more yellow than blue in here since I'm only using the primary colors. Of course, I also want to do yellow as well first because it's a lighter color than blue is. And blue, as we saw with this guy, dramatically changes that color really quickly. Okay, so again, same exact process. This is the last time we'll use yellow for today. And I'm going to go ahead and just keep coloring your circle in yellow. Need one moment real quick. Just want to make sure that you have plenty of layers of yellow down here. I've done one, working on my second. Once again, and this is the last circle, I will say this, don't be lazy with yellow. Just make sure you have enough yellow down. Okay, so I've probably done, I wasn't fully counting, but I think I've done about 6 layers of my yellow. It looks like, again, it's not as intense as this yellow is, but it's still covered pretty significantly. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more layer just because I want to be extra careful with my blue when I layer it, because I don't want to dramatically change my color. Really pay attention, guys, to those edges. You don't want them to look lighter. When that happens, it's called a halo effect. So we want to avoid a halo effect at all costs. Okay, so I've done probably 7 layers of my yellow. I'm gonna go ahead and take my blue. Remember, we want to color it in as lightly as you possibly can, so make sure to be holding it from far back. And just a little bit of blue is going to pretty dramatically change your color, as you can see from that first contour line. Okay. So go ahead and do a light layer of your blue. The lightest layer you can possibly do. I want you to notice how far back I'm holding my pencil to ensure that it's the lightest layer I can possibly do. If I haven't explained this already, the reason you hold your pencil farther back and the reason I keep emphasizing that is you can't apply, you like literally can't apply as much pressure. And so that's just like a surefire way to like color more lightly, is focusing on how and where you're holding your pencil. Okay, so I did one incredibly light layer. Now I'm working on my second one, just a crosshatch to get rid of my streaks. Now, if you see anywhere with streaks, just kind of go over it again in a circular motion. Or any areas you may have missed with your cross-hatching. This is probably one of the hardest ones to do, the one that you're doing right now. So again, if you mess up, just cross it off and try again. It's okay. Okay, so I have very careful layers of blue on top. So now would be a time where you would take a look at yours and see what color do you need to add, excuse me, what color do you need to add more of? For me, I'm gonna take my yellow. on top of my blue again, just to kind of blend out some of those streaky areas. And then I think I'm going to add an additional layer of blue. So again, you'll just have to look and see what makes sense for yours. What color do you think you need to add? And again, ask yourself, ask your neighbor, and then you can ask me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add, like I said, just a little bit more blue, because if I were to kind of go and move my eye in a circle, my eye does get stuck here a little bit, and it's just because it needs just a little bit more of that blue to tie it together. Okay, so I like the way that looks. I'm not going to worry about it too much now. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to our last two. So hopefully you're following along. If not, just keep working, doing your best. So I'm going to start with my blue violet, which of course is going to have blue and red. It's going to have more blue in it because it's closer to blue on the color wheel. However, I want to apply red first because red is my lighter color. And so blue is just going to kind of eat into it. Oops. So I'm just going to take a moment and trace that contour line. Hopefully by now you're kind of getting the hang of it. It's again, it is repetitive, or in the regards of it's the same process over and over. Again, please don't rush. I see students rush this all the time. If you press too hard or you go too fast, you just don't get the same results. And that honestly, guys, is what art is all about. It's just slowing down, noticing what you're doing, practicing, working with different processes. Artists don't rush their work. They take their time, they slow down. It's not a race. You don't get an extra prize for finishing first. It's all about that process. Okay, so I've done a couple layers of my red. Of course, if you compare my two reds, this is much lighter. I think I've done like maybe 3 or 4 layers of red. So I think I'm ready to start adding my blue. Again, I'm not going to press too hard. You want to go slow and steady to win the race. Start with that contour line. Okay, so I've added just a couple layers of my blue. It has a nice transition between my colors. There's more red obviously in this one than there is in this one, but this color still isn't as intense, which is okay. You can always make a color more intense. I'm going to slowly apply more layers of my blue. And I slowly start to create a really nice rich color. I'm going to go ahead and add an additional layer of red to this, and then I'm going to go ahead and add more blue. Reason I'm doing that is it doesn't feel like there's enough red here yet, but I still want it to be darker. So I'm going to add red, and then I'm going to add blue. Since red's the lighter color, it's going to work to like blend everything together, which is exactly what you want. Okay, so I added one layer of red. It really worked to blend everything out. It creates a really nice smooth transition. So I'm gonna go ahead and add one more layer of blue, and then I think I'm good, but you never know. So again, this is where you kind of start to self-assess and see what color do you need to add. Again, your circle should be very, very smooth. You shouldn't see any streaks. And of course, if it's taking me this long, it should take you at least this long to do. So while I'm working on this, just want to mention the whole thing about slowing down, taking your time, being intentional. There's actually a fancy art word for that I'll start talking about more for our next unit, but it's called craftsmanship. So craftsmanship has to do with how you do things. Again, like how you carefully color. So having high levels of craftsmanship would be coloring inside the lines, slowly building up colors, not pressing too hard. Whereas if you had low levels of craftsmanship for this, you'd be frantically coloring really quickly, not caring about the lines, not caring about how much pressure you're applying, things like that. So we always try to have craftsmanship when we're working on art-related things. And so I think with these layers, I'm really liking the way that looks. There is a little bit of a glare on my screen, but overall it looks really nice, and it looks really, really good, guys, how it's flowing all together. So hopefully yours is looking like this. If your eye gets stuck anywhere, just hang tight for just a minute. We'll address that as soon as we finish this one. But we finally just have one left. So we're gonna go ahead and same exact process that we've done with all of our others. We're gonna go ahead and trace this guy. This color is going to be our red violet color. Because it's in between red and violet. And we're going to make sure we have plenty of layers of our red. This color is going to have more red in it because it's closer to red on the color wheel. So again, make sure that you cover all the white of the paper. Much easier to tell with red than it is with yellow. I want to go ahead and do probably 4 or 5 layers. Not an exact science, it depends on how you color and the amount of pressure that you apply. Really focus on those edges, guys. Try not to have any sort of halo effect where it's lighter on the edges. One more layer just for good measure. And again, I just did maybe 4 or 5 layers. You can tell that it's not as dark as this one, just from, if I hold my paper up, the shadow. So I haven't pressed crazy hard yet. Okay, you slowly get to that point. You don't just go ham and press really hard. So I'm going to go ahead and outline this guy in blue. I want to be really careful because I don't want to put too much blue in this, and I am using a cool color with a warm color, just like I did with my greens down here. So this is going to pretty dramatically change my color. The other thing about that I just want to mention is my red just doesn't seem to be that intense, whereas my blue is. Both my blue and my yellow are like super bright in your face. My red really isn't. That's okay. I just need to be aware of that when I'm mixing these two colors, especially because that means all the more importance that I'm not putting too much blue in it, because my red's not really intense enough to withstand it. It's going to dramatically change just with a little bit of blue. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a nice layer of blue. So I'm going to cross hatch. Okay, I'm probably not going to add any more. I'm just going to add another layer of red on top to really work on blending those colors together. Okay, so if I zoom out, you'll see that my color wheel, I did add an additional layer of red there, and all of my colors really flow nicely one into another. So there's not two that look very similar. I might take this time and kind of focus on a couple of them. Like I might work on these two a little bit more, maybe adding some blue and red to this one, blending it out, having it look a little bit different because they start to kind of look similar. Similar thing to this one, I might go ahead and add another layer of blue. But for our intents and purposes today, this looks pretty good and I'm pretty proud of it. I think I did a good job. So once you get to this point, again, just kind of look, add some additional layers. But that's when you're going to want to follow the instructions up here as well as down here to make sure you get the full points for this assignment. So we already used red, yellow, and blue colored pencils to complete the color wheel. Check, that's the hardest part of this assignment. So you've done most of the work right now. So now I want you to label the correct names for all the colors. I already, of course, have the primary colors listed for you. Make sure that you have our secondary colors and then our tertiary colors listed correctly. And then down here, I'd like you to star the primary colors. So I had students, you just take like next to the name, you just do a little star. You don't have to actually like star the whole circle. You'll circle the secondary colors, similar thing, just circle the name. You don't have to circle the actual circle. And then you'll square the tertiary colors. So same thing, you'll square around the name. You won't do a circle around the name or around the actual circle. Okay, then I want you to draw a straight line between 3 pairs of complementary colors. So make sure that you connect your complementary colors together, that you draw a squiggly line between your favorite set of analogous colors. So make sure that they connect somehow, that it's very obvious where your squiggle line is. So if you have a question on how to do that, come to me and ask before you do it. So squiggle line between your favorite sets of analogous colors, and then draw a zigzag line between the warm and cool colors. So your zigzag line should go divide the circle somehow. So make sure it crosses in some way in order to clearly separate the warm and the cool colors. And please make sure that your squiggle line is a squiggle and your zigzag line is a zigzag. So having this one be angular and this one be curved. Okay. Other than that, once you're done with this, come and have me check it to make sure that you've done everything correctly. But I'm really excited to see these guys. You've been working really, really hard on them. And I'm so proud of you already for all the hard work that you've done. Who would have thought that you could make the entire color wheel with just red, yellow, and blue colored pencils? So without further ado, go ahead and keep working. And I look forward to seeing what your final color wheels look like. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.